should actually show me as streaming. Okay, so now I'm actually showing as streaming. This is great. How the fuck do I pop this out? Pop out? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take this over here, and I am officially live. Good deal. Okay. So let's see here. What I want to do today is go through my my V1 Gatsby site here. So the site that I have now is, let's hide that. It's running on version 1.9.102, and it lives at langsdorf.com. And so this is it's a fairly straightforward site. There's not a lot going on with it. So I've got some modal stuff that's happening, and I've got a blog. The blog has pagination. There's also categorizing, so you can get to the different categories. And I've got tagging, so that you can get into different tag categories. Then it's got a little bit of like tricky stuff going on here. So, some multi-column layouts, some sticky sidebars. What else do I do that's clever? Let's see. So there's a footnote feature, which is because I'm a nerd and I like to write footnotes. And then, so there's this kind of like sticky thing, which I love CSS for making easy. And let's see, what else? So I have, and then this opens a modal as well. Let's silence those, yeah. Okay. Then taking a look here. I think that's kind of the core of what's going on inside this thing. So my hope is that in this stream, we're going to take this and switch it over from a V1 site to a V2 site. So there's a couple things that we got to do. So the first thing is we want to take a look at the Gatsby migration guide. So those are going to be over here in the docs. And let's jump in. Down on the left, we've got a migration doc somewhere. Let's see, where is it? Releases and migration. And I'm going to migrate from V1 to V2. So in the V1 to V2 stuff, what we're dealing with, let me actually switch to a different view so that you can see what the hell I'm looking at. That'll probably be useful. So we're looking at the migration docs, V1 to V2. And what I want to do is, oh my God, I just walked through all this stuff and wasn't even showing my desktop. Okay, so let's maybe just take that from the top. My goal today is to take a V1 Gatsby site and convert it to V2. So I've got a homepage here. It has modal support, and I want to keep that. It has a blog. The blog has, standard blog posts. It's got pagination so that we can jump between posts. It's got categories so that we can show different categories of things. And then it's got tagging as well so that we can see different tags. Outside of that, nothing particularly interesting going on here. This is all just kind of, that's a direct mail to link. It's got a list that I manually maintain right now. In a future cast, I'd love to update that. The content of the modal gets displayed on that page, and the about page is pretty straightforward. It's, a drawing of me and then some bulleted lists. So, what we're going to do then is we're going to take a look at this code here and try to convert it over. So I've got the migration guide open, and let's just jump through it and see what we're going to change. So the first thing that we want to do is update our dependencies. It's still in an RC, so I'm going to switch over all these dependencies to next. So doing this, let's actually get clever. I'm going to do this, keep going. And what I'm doing is I'm hitting Command D to just continually select things, because I've got a bunch of Gatsby plugins and I want to make sure that I get them all over to the next. Then now that I've got multi-selections, I can do them all at once like a ninja. Okay, so I've got all of these updated, and then we don't need Gatsby Link anymore because Gatsby Link was bundled into Gatsby. That's going to be covered down here somewhere, but I'm not going to touch that. So then we also need to manually install React and React DOM because that is part of the process. So let's open this up. So the first thing is I'm just going to run a yarn to update the dependencies. And so we'll let that run for a second. And once that is finished, let's actually pull this up a little bit so we can just keep this running. And we can take a look at other things that we need to do. So let's see. Yeah, we're missing peer dependencies, which we'll install in a second. That JL toolbox thing is a thing that I started doing based off of Kent C. Dodd's work and then kind of abandoned, so let's just ignore that. Eventually I'll get around to fixing that. And let's see. So taking a look at what we're kind of up against here, I've got my offers, which are like this is the popover content. I've got pages, which are things that are available on the site. And I've got a couple custom plugins that I built, which like this one is for a blog post. These ones I should have posted as, actually this one I think I did finally publish, but the amplitude and the Instagram are just to load external scripts. And then we've got the posts themselves. Posts are pretty straightforward. They've got the index file, and then any related images are put in there. In the source folder, I've got a couple templates that I use for blog posts, the blog role, and then individual pages. My styles are currently set up as CSS modules. And I think what I want to do as part of this migration, because CSS module handling changed in Gatsby V2, I think I'm just going to move over to using emotion. So switch to a CSS in JS solution. Then I've got a bunch of components in here that do various things. We'll kind of go through those as we upgrade them. I've got some config in here that definitely ought to be in Gatsby config, so I'm going to migrate that over. A bunch of images that are going to end up moving out because when we start looking at the config, we can all cringe at the things that I did wrong when I was still learning Gatsby. So a fun fact about this is the first site I ever built with Gatsby. I was learning the platform as I built this, which means I made a lot of bad decisions. So we're going to get to see me struggling through what I did wrong and see if I can undo some of that damage. That's that. So these are done. Let's also install yarn and yarn add React and React DOM. Okay. And let's make sure that there weren't any peer dependencies that I missed. What else is in here? Nothing. What's this? What's this error? Oh boy. So this looks like well, I don't know what that is. Let's see if we can get rid of that by doing what I like to call the old nuke and pave. So I'm just going to remove the node modules, and because it's a Gatsby site that was in one version and is now moving to another, my guess is we're going to get weirdness. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm also, just because we want to make sure that the devastation is complete, going to get rid of my yarn lock. So let's do that. Then we're going to do another yarn install. This one should hopefully go faster because yarn has cached things. I guess we'll find out shortly. Here we go. Good deal. All right. And then what should happen, if I am correct, is that if we try to run the site now, it's going to more or less explode because a couple key things changed that I'm using, that I was using incorrectly. The first thing is I have I'm not using layouts because I initially worked around those because I didn't know how they worked. So that doesn't apply here. These don't, no, not using that. So static query is a great feature that we will be looking at, but that's not going to apply just yet. Navigate to, I don't think we're going to use. This we're going to have to deal with because I absolutely copy pasted some code that that did something like this, or like this one. I've got some of that. That's not a good deal. So we'll fix that. Didn't have any custom Babel config. The CSS thing, I'm trying to decide if I care. Like I really do want to get over to emotion, but that might be the subject of something else. Reach router is only if we're doing any client-side stuff, so we're not doing that. And the link, oh yeah, the link moved. So let's see here. What else is missing? Not using that one, not using that one. Oh yeah, this. This is the one that's going to probably take the most time because I used IDs all over the place to do exactly this. And it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to do a lot of refactoring here because most of my Markdown files are coming in by ID, which is obviously not going to work. So I'll have to fix that. Yeah, query, root query type, not doing that. Typography.js, not using that. CSS modules. Yeah, so we're going to import link from Gatsby instead, so that'll be one that we need to fix. We have to import GraphQL now. So prior, so Gatsby does something a little bit different because it's building at runtime. It'll go through during the build and it'll find anything like this, and it actually removes it entirely from the code and then injects the result here. But that's mysterious, right? So prior to this wouldn't need to be included because we weren't going to actually parse that. So to make things a little more explicit, we're pulling in this GraphQL template tag from Gatsby to make it more obvious that like it's coming from somewhere. This isn't magic. And then let's see, I'm going to have to make this switch, bound action creators to actions. I don't think I'm using this, but we'll take a look. Responsive image queries, those are going to need to be tweaked. I'm not using delete nodes. Don't need to do explicit query names, so we'll look at that in a minute. We are not doing HTML CSS or HTML.js here. Okay, so I think that's it. So let's just actually jump into this and see what changed. So the first thing is let's take a look at our components and we'll do a search for Gatsby link. Let me make this a little bigger so we can see what's going on. I'm going to hide that. And I want to find all the places that we're doing this. And what we're going to do is just change it to a named import from Gatsby. So that's one. Here's an actually, let me do this because it'll be much faster. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to copy paste it. I'm sure that there's a much faster way to do this that I could do if I knew my tools better, but I am lazy, and so I just copy paste things because spending way too much time copy pasting things between files saves me the 3 minutes to figure out what the shortcut is to do it the fast way. Okay, so that's one thing. Now let's look for any instance of the GraphQL tag. And I'm going to put this template tag on there because there are places where we like commented in the code. So we've got here, and that means that I need to add the GraphQL import from Gatsby. And I'm going to copy paste that again. Let's take a look at this one. This one needs GraphQL as well. Here, we've got it. So let's drop it in here. And this one. Okay, so those are our GraphQL queries. And now we've got a bunch of queries that are going to break on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch my view. I turned some things off so that I could actually see what was going on, and I don't know how it works anymore. So what is it? No, God. Oh, God, what have I done? Holding on while I figure out how VS Code works. Let's go to Explorer. That's the one. Yeah, so going back in here in my Gatsby node, well, let's just run it so that you can see how much this is going to break. So we run yarn develop, and several things should explode. Let's see. Yeah, so first thing first, we're mixing our common JS and ES6, so let's go fix that in, oh, these are my custom plugins, so we're going to jump in here, Gatsby plugin Instagram, and this is the SSR one. And so looking at this, basically what's happened here is that I have imported React using the ES6 syntax, but I'm exporting it using common JS or whatever that is. Yeah, common JS. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to export this const, and then it's going to give me an ESLint warning, which is what everybody wants to deal with. So what's that ESLint warning called? That's not it. What is the problems here? Preferred default export. So I'm going to just disable that because that's how we deal with our problems. Hey, Henrizzle. Okay, so we've got that fixed. Now, okay, let's see what we're doing. We got one of these fixed. What's going on with the other ones? Go to the terminal. My guess is we probably got multiples of these, so let's take a look in here. That one's fine. Let's look in here. Same problem. So with this one, I'm just going to take the top right out of this. So let's get here. Actually, I can take the whole thing. Let's do this. Nope, that's not going to work the way I wanted it to. But I can do this. Okay, so I've got that one. Let's poke around in these other ones and make sure that I don't have more. Here, that one's fine. Here, that one's not fine. So let's drop this in, set post body components, all good. Then, I think there was one more down here. Just want to check it. And that one's good. Okay, so now we should get an actual error. Yep. Okay, so now we're getting real errors. So this is good. We'll get started on what I'm doing wrong. Open and validate Gatsby config, and I broke something, which means it's on line 35. It doesn't say what, which is always promising. So let's get down to line 35. That doesn't seem correct. Okay, let's think through this. What is breaking and why? So I've got, well, I guess maybe let's try something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my custom stuff. And this means that the site is going to explode in wonderful and colorful ways. But it should help me narrow down whether this issue is, oh yeah, that's a fun workaround we'll talk about in a bit. It should help me determine whether or not the issue is with the config or whether it's coming in from somewhere else. So let's run this one more time. Okay, so it's given me that same error. And I don't know why. Unexpected token. Interesting. So let's take this and let's just knock out plugins that I designed and see if that's the problem. So we'll take these two out. Let's take these out for now. And let's see if anything changes. Okay, so things started happening, but we're going to run into issues because, wait, I still got that same problem. So I've got deprecated. Are things running here? Okay, so I do have graphical, so that's promising. That means that Gatsby at least didn't fully explode, but now we've got some deprecations to deal with. So let's take a look at what happened. Missing Markdown remark, that's fine because I didn't get everything loaded. Okay, so we didn't get that error. We're now dealing with different issues. Don't worry, I'm lost too. So, so what we're doing now is we are going to try to figure out which plugin is broken and why. And then we'll start putting things back in piece by piece until we actually know what's going on. So let's start with the errors that we got, or the warnings. So we've got a bound action creators is now actions. We have a link here that's going to link us to the migration docs that I already have open. But what we need to do is just open Gatsby node. We're going to look for this bound action creators and change it to use actions. So let's just do a quick search. Bound action creators, and we will just make sure we got all of them and change it to actions. So nothing else changed. We just wanted it to be more clear what's going on. So bound action creators is a big, scary sounding computer science thing. Actions is a thing that people understand, like creating a node field. So this just is a simplification there. Next, we've got path context is deprecated, so use page context instead. And that's happening in our blog post and blog. So let's pop those open in our source folder. Blog post, and we're looking for path context. Oops. Come on. Path context. Here. And we can just change this anywhere that it's used to page context. And again, this is because it's used in pages, and we want to make sure that things are clear. So we're doing the same thing over here. Let's find it. Anywhere that it's getting used, we're going to change it to page context. Okay, and we've got those errors hopefully dealt with. In the About page, we have a broken query. So for now, let's kill this, and probably that's going to make everything explode anyways. And it exploded because... oh, because I just need to comment out the whole thing. Then what happens? Lots of things go wrong all at once. So let's take a look. Oh yeah, GraphQL syntax. So all sorts of fun things are going wrong. What if we just kill the whole thing? Hey, that's better than I expected. Let's see what else is going wrong. We've got unknown field image sharp. That's because we're not loading images. So let's maybe go in here and do the same thing. We're going to get rid of this field. Where is it? Was it hero image? Hero image. So we're missing that one. So let's hide that and let's see what happened. Did it break? Still got some weirdness in the page. So let's go in and look at the page query. And the issue was this one. So I think with this one, there's not really anything we can do about it right now. So let's just comment it out. And we're going to try to add these one by one back in so that we don't have... the whole thing's going to explode, isn't it? Okay, let's go back to the index, right? Yep. And instead of commenting that, let's just take out the whole query. Okay, let's see if that fixed anything. lots and lots of errors, and that's okay because we're breaking things. Unknown field on blog post. So let's look at blog post. We're going to take this query out. And so this is kind of my typical approach to debugging. When something starts breaking, kind of get everything out of the way so that you have a really predictable, like a minimum solution, and then add things one by one until you find the thing that's breaking. It tends to help me think through my problems, because if I don't do that, I'm kind of bouncing around between tons and tons of different files trying to figure out what the thing is that might be broken. I did, however, just comment that out, didn't I? Am I missing a thing? No, that's the one. So maybe that was the end of it. Let's kill it and start it again and see if it changes anything. Okay, so we did, why it keeps jumping to the top and I don't know why. So here we run yarn develop. We've got open and validate our Gatsby config. We run through, so they're deleting the cache. That's fine. Hey, no errors. Okay, so this is cool. Now we've got a running site that we can check out at localhost 8000. This is not going to run very well because there's nothing in it. So if we take a look at the console, maybe, come on console. Let's get that up here. Close this one, open the console, and here are our errors. We've got a bunch of errors. And that's because we eliminated our data, so we don't have any data. That's okay. So we can live with that error for now while we figure out what else is going on. So let's take a look at, what am I going? Here we go. Let's take a look at fixing this index query first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the Explorer, which is Apple Shift E. I'm going to do the shortcut. I'm going to learn things today. Oh, that 100% didn't work. How do I just hide it? Nope, that's not it. Command palette? Nope. One of these is going to do it, I swear. Let's see. Sidebar? There it is. Command B, that's what I was looking for. And I'm also going to hide the terminal so that we can actually see the screen. So what we want to do is we want to get this query running again. And the way that we're going to do that is, first, we need to figure out where we're getting our data from. So let's take a look at that. What we're doing in this query right now, I'm going to uncomment it so we get some syntax highlighting. We're going to do, the first thing is we need a hero image. And if we're looking at the live site, which is here, this is our hero image, okay? So we're loading that hero image here. Then we load the page, and the page comes from this Markdown file, and I've got a home page. And so this home page has some front matter, which we use to define the popover. And then we have this content here. And that's all just Markdown. There's really nothing wild going on in there. And in the index file, we can see that what ends up happening is we set up the hero image. I've got some hard-coded stuff that I wanted to style up in here. And then over here, we drop in the actual Markdown content using the page.html. Oh, somebody jumped in with Command B. I'm sorry, I'm bad at chat. So thank you retroactively for what would have probably saved me a minute and a half. And let's see here. So let's jump into graphical, and I'm just going to clear this, and I can clear this as well. Hide that. And let's figure out what we need. So the first thing is we need to be able to get to this file. Currently, that file is not being loaded because we commented out in Gatsby config. So let's take a look at what we need to do to get that back in. So something that bothers me about the way that I've set up my site is that I have multiple top layer folders for all of this stuff. And that means that in my plugin setup, I'm like loading the whole source directory. I'm loading a post directory, an offers directory, and a pages directory. It's junky. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add a new folder that I'm going to call content. This content folder is going to live at the top level up here. And I'm going to move stuff into it. So I'm going to put my offers in there, my pages in there, and my posts in there. And then I'm going to create another new one that we're going to need in just a minute called images. Because the reason that I load this source directory is to get images out. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find this image that I need, which is the More to Life banner. So let's make this a little taller. And then I can take this More to Life banner and just move it right up here. Okay, so then I need to be able to get to that. So let's take this one, and I'm just going to swap it out for content. And what I'm doing now is I'm basically putting that content back into the GraphQL data source so that we can access anything inside of this folder is now available through the file system. So let's take a look how that works. I got to restart to get the config change picked up. Okay, so that's running. Nothing exploded. Oh, wait, did things explode or did it do that jump? It did that weird jump again. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to debug later. But what this does mean now is if I refresh graphical, I can clear that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look in here, and I've got this this all file thing. So if we just, all file means if I want to see what's in that directory, let's look here. I've got edges, and then inside of that, I'm going to have a node, and maybe I can get like a name. And it's going to pull out the name of all these files. And we will see these are all my posts. So maybe what I want to do is let's look in there and see if it gives me anything. Let's look at the relative path. Like, what's the relative path going to be? Perfect. So this is what I want, right? Like, I'm going to get through all these posts and pages. So down at the bottom, I should get, all my posts and pages. And I want to jump up to the top here and see, do my images come in? Where are my images? Let's filter for that. So I'm going to go back out, and I'm going to do a filter on this all file, which will let me do a filter like so. And I'm going to filter on the relative path, and I want that to be let's see if it just works as an EQ. And I want that to be images and then more to life. What do I call that one? More to life Langsdorff.png. Let's run that again, and here we go. So now I've got my file, right? And so I don't actually want to run all file though, because I just want one file. So let's screw with that a little bit, and let's change it over to a file request instead. And so I'm going to do exactly the same thing, except now I'm going to use the relative path. I'm going to set it to be equals. I'm going to say images more to life Langsdorff.png. And with this one, I want, let's say, the name and do I get like any image stuff yet? Child image sharp. And let's see what we get out of child image sharp. In child image sharp, I can pull out, let's say, the for now, let's just do the original. So now I'm getting the file, and I get a path to load it. And if I were to do something like get rid of this all file because we're not going to use it, what I actually want to do here is I want to get the fluid style. which means that I need to use the, oops, there. I need to use the traced SVG, which is what I've been using to load things. I'm going to grab that out of our commented query here. Now, unfortunately, something that is kind of a bummer about using graphical is that these don't work inside of graphical. And that's because we kind of define them in line. But what I can do to kind of demonstrate that it would work is I can grab like the source set or the source set. And so this is going to give me like all the different versions. And so this is something really cool about Gatsby, right? Like I put in one folder or one image, and that one image that I added, right? Very cool. It's a single image, but the problem is it's kind of big. And it's not huge because I did do some optimization beforehand. But what ends up happening is this image is 810 by 1014, which that's like too much image for like a small phone. So what I'm doing instead is I'm going to use Gatsby, which then uses Sharp under the hood to generate different versions of this image at different sizes. And those different versions are optimized for the different screen sizes. So like this one here is for up to 200 pixels wide. That's pretty slick, right? So that's something that I don't have to think about anymore, which is wonderful. And if we go back to this page here, what I want is I want to get in here and figure out how to convert what I just did. Okay. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to name it because I want it, instead of being under file, we want it to be under hero image. And so this is really useful if, for example, you were looking for two files, because then it gets put under a different index. So now by prefixing it with hero image, I get to name it in the object that comes back, which is pretty sweet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file, I'm going to grab these and come back. And let's just take this. Oh, wait, I need that traced SVG stuff, don't I? Okay, so I'm going to set this back here instead. Got that. And then I've got my child image sharp and fluid, which will give me the ability to do the traced SVG color. And so I'm going to put that up here. Okay. Is that a sufficient level of chaos? Let's see. I don't need that one anymore. So that can go away. Now I've got 1, 2, 3. That should be correct. I'm missing that. Okay. So then I should be able to take these out for now. And what I want to do is up here, I'm going to, only the hero image is required because apparently I got lazy. And I want to, oh crap, I've got my popover stuff in here. So maybe what I can do is get rid of this higher order component that's in here now. And I'm going to comment out the bottom of it as well. And then I'm going to comment out the page because we're not loading that anymore. And what I want is for, let's disable that button because I don't have a open popover anymore. What else is going to come out of here? I think that's everything. So I've got this. Things did what I wanted them to do, except my image. Let's comment this guy out. And well, I guess we need both of those gone. So let me comment this guy out as well. So we're only going to pull in the hero image now. But the path isn't going to work anymore because it changed. So I have the hero image.sizes, but what it is now instead is going to be hero image.childImageSharp.fluid. ChildImageSharp.fluid. And let's see what happens if I run this First try, maybe? Cannot be spread as, can never be type of. Oh, that's my fault because this also got changed. So image type fluid, and this should solve the problem. And let's see what happens when I reload the front page. And my guess is this is going to look real bad, but in theory, it'll load the image. Hey. So things look garbagey because the CSS modules aren't loading, but I've got that image, right? That image is coming out from where we expected it. So this is a good deal. We're moving along on the way here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out how to get this this page markdown. So let's grab this out and let's refactor it. So let's drop it into graphical and we'll set it right alongside here. And what we want to do is I'm gonna, let's see, prettify that real quick. And I want this markdown remark to do the same thing. So I'm going to comment this out, and instead we're going to do page equals, let's do file again, because what I actually want is this, this home page. So I'm going to do equals pages home.md, and that gives me the file. And then inside of that, I should be able to do child markdown remark. And inside of that, I should be able to put in all this front matter. So that's that. Let's drop this in, do a quick prettify, and if all goes well, oh, this is another thing that is broken that I'm not crazy about, so let's do that. Okay, so child markdown remark, we've got our front matter, we've got our HTML. So good deal. Let's take that, and we will drop that back in here. So this one is now going to be replaced by that, and that should work. So now what we can do is we can take the page, bring that back out, and inside of here, we want to get to that page and actually display it. So let's uncomment this, and we'll let Prettier deal with that part, but what I need to do is fix the path. So it's going to be page.childMarkdownRemark.html. Okay, and do I have anything else from the page? That all came in here, which is stuff that we're going to have to deal with later, but something went wrong. So what is it? I just added extra junk, so let's fix my bad code. And that should compiled successfully. So if all goes well, we've got Markdown at the bottom here. Hey, all right, so that's a good deal. We're coming along here. So the next thing we need to do is take a look at the Popover images. And so the Popover images are also coming out of GraphQL, and I need to figure out where they are, because what I did with them originally is I put them down in the source folder. So source, images, and then Popover. And I hate that. It's just not a good way of solving this problem. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move these out into the images. Actually, you know what might be easier? Let's do this. Let's go pop over there, and we'll keep those in. And so then what I should be able to do is let's restart this to pick up those new images, because I think they might have been picked up, but I don't know. I'm changing the file system. It's always better to restart. So what I'm going to try here is I'm going to see what happens when I just take this and rewrite it as a file query, again in here. So let's get out here. We're going to, let's prettify. Okay, and so I'm going to take this one and we're going to run it again, Popover Images. Oh, I accidentally executed that. Popover Images, and we want all file. So this time we actually do want all file, and we're going to filter to relative path, and we want that relative path to, how do we want to do this? Let's do a regex, and it's going to be images popover. And that should give us everything in that folder. And underneath that, I'm going to take that out for a second, and let's go with the name instead. Name. Okay. And I only want to see the popover images, so let's collapse that for a second. So then we get, yeah, there we get what I wanted. Let's put the actual relative path out there. Collapse these again. And yeah, these are the images that I wanted. So that's a little cleaner than the, doing like ID regexing, which was kind of a mess. So instead, we still need to get these sizes, but we're using the file now, so we got to get into child image sharp. And in child image sharp, I'm going to use fluid. Yeah, hold on, let me check this because I might be getting this backwards. Fluid. So originally, sizes is fluid. Yes, got it. That's what I wanted. So we're going to go with fluid, and then we can take these values right out. And inside, for now, we will do a source set. And let's make sure that works the way we wanted it to. So I'm going to close that up, and we get our popover images as a source set. So good deal. All right. Now we're going to start getting weird because we're going to get into the higher order component that I built to add a popover to any page that needed it. So let's take this out of here. And I need this fragment to exist, but it needs to be renamed to fluid. So I'm going to take that, drop that in here, and then we're going to copy this straight out. Okay, so we've got that, and we're going to put it into place of this one. Make sure that everything is styled up the way we want it to be. And cool. So what happens then? We've got our popover images. We do not have GraphQL errors. That's a good deal. Let's uncomment this. And then to soothe my OCD, I will move it over here so it's in alphabetical. Oh my God, it wasn't in alphabetical order the whole time. Oh, the humanity. Okay. Now we've got that. And this, I'm almost positive, is going to explode without some refactoring, because the popover images are looking for a different format. So these popover images.edges is going to get weird, but that's okay. So we've got it. That's going to break. So when we refresh here, what should happen is what I expected. We get a bunch of console errors, and that's because it's looking for the wrong thing. So let's get into the with popover higher order component, which lives in here. And the way that this one works, let's hide the sidebar for a second. So what ends up happening is it's going to get in the image array. That image array comes in with an array of files, but that's not actually how this is going to work anymore, because we changed the query. So what we have instead is we have the edges node, and then we get into the child image sharp stuff. So let's take a look at what's going on here. I'm just going to take this out for now because I don't want it to start failing on prop validation errors. And instead, I'm going to look at how we actually use the images. So this is where we pass the images in, and it goes to get popover image. So let's jump up to that definition. These images come in, and it's going to look for inside the images. There's going to be a node, and that node is going to run with, let's see, node dot name. And what we should be looking for, let's see, where's the group coming from? The group comes from this .props.group, which in the index file is being set as what? Popover.group, which is up here, and the group is work happy. So how is that being defined? What does that even mean? Oh, here we go. So it's the lowercase of that. So get popover image takes a group name. It does a group to lowercase, and then gets the .node, which should give us the whole image. So let's just see what this does. I'm gonna take this and make it into a explicit return, so that what I can do is actually take this out for a second. I'm going to put it into a variable, and then I'm going to return that image, but not before I do some good old-fashioned console logging. Okay, so what I want is I want this to log an image, which it doesn't because it's looking for a popover that doesn't exist in our page. Oh, I know why. Because we changed the way that we get to it. So it's file.child markdown or mark. So that's just me forgetting that we refactored things. So let's get back over into index.js, and all of these page.frontmatter, these need to be refactored into child markdown remark. This .fields.slug, that's something that I'm going to need to deal with, but for now I'm just going to end around it so that we don't have to stress. And let's take that and see what happened. So what do we get? We get an actual image, so that's good. But it looks like our access methods for that image are not what we were expecting. So we get the image, and then that image goes into what? It goes into the popover, and the popover accepts an image prop, and it's going to be looking for one image node. So let's open the popover, and let's take a look at what comes in. So it gets this image, and then when it uses it, it is looking for image.sizes. So we've got a couple things that need to change here. So the first is we need to change that to fluid. But also, because the image that comes in is it has a child.image.sharp or a child image sharp there, we're going to also add that. And what this means now is I need to probably also fix this. Image comes in and it's got a child image sharp, right? Let's see what happens. So this is still, wait, are things still breaking? No, things are not breaking anymore, which means two things. First, I can eliminate this console.log and make this back into an implicit return, which just makes my life a little more pleasant because it's less confusing stuff going on. To show that a little easier. So again, what we're doing here is we're just taking in the name of the group, which in this case is like work happy, and then an array of images. It does a find in the images, pulls out the node by destructuring it, and then looks for a node whose name matches the group name in all lowercase, and then returns that node. And that's how we get this this array here, the child image sharp, what its name is and what its relative path is. We, however, do not need the relative path, which means we can drop that out of the query, but we do need the name. So we're going to hold on to that. We're going to go into, we're going to go back into the index file as well, and we're going to uncomment the button, because now we want to see, does this do what I expect it to do? It does. Okay, so our styles are broken, but the popover works. So that's a good deal. We are in pretty good shape here in terms of getting functionality back in place. So let's move on to the next file. And let's try to get our About page to work, because if I go to the About page now, it's going to explode as expected, because it doesn't have a data prop. So let's go refactor this About page. And the query that we want here, this one's a lot simpler. So thankfully, there's a little less to fight with here. So let's take this one, get it here, and then something that, oh, actually, before we do that, let's look at the index page again. In here, this is no longer necessary. This is not a make or break thing. It's not going to really impact the way that your code works. It's just for convenience. And one of the things that Gatsby version 1 requires is that your queries have a unique name. So you would have to be like query homepage query, or like if you had two queries, query homepage query 1 and 2, and things like that that are just, they're a little confusing. With improvements in V2, that's no longer required. However, you're absolutely welcome to do it. Like if it helps you to have this name, to know why the query exists, keep it in there. In my case, I'm going to let the file name kind of dictate why these things are. So I'm going to take this one, do the same thing, drop that query name out of there, grab this query, and let's head into graphical and fix it. So this one is all refactored, so we're going to drop this in here. And now I'm going to get the file with the relative path that equals right? Am I there? How are we doing? Okay. Then I'm going to get the child markdown remark. Take all of these, indent them one, drop it here, and I should, on the first try, get nothing. Why? Oh, because I forgot to put the actual MD in there. Still broken. Why? Let's look. Pages, about.md, right? So looking for a file, the relative path. Do I need to get rid of this? Yes. Okay. So it needs to be a relative path, not a absolute path. That would, as the name would imply. Okay. So then I have all of the things that I need, including my front matter. And my front matter is going to give me all this stuff that I need. So if I take this, I grab it out and I drop it into here, just straight in. Then I just need to go up to the top and refactor the paths, because it's going to be looking for a different path than we have, which we can see here. So let's do this the right way. We're going to add child markdown remark, and that lives in here, and that's going to go like this. And it is required, right? And that's giving me an error because it thinks it's never been used, which is fine. Oh no, it just wanted me to indent is all. Cool. So in here, I've got the data, got the page. Now I'm going to do child markdown remark, and I'm just going to copy that out so that we can use it elsewhere. So here's the front matter of the bio. Here is the opt-in button and group. And what else? Anywhere else? one more. Okay, and when I save those, that should eliminate all of that. And if we go to the About page and reload, we get no more errors. Again, the styles are a little janky because the CSS modules are broken. We can make a call a little bit later on about whether or not I'm going to move this over to Emotion or whether I'm going to do this as a, if I'm just going to fix the CSS modules. So let's take a crack at the, let's see, error page. Do I get that by like hitting 404? No. I guess I just hit it directly at error. What the hell did I do? That one appears to work as is. What is it trying to do? The default error, and then it takes. Oh, I know what this is. Okay, so for my website, I built an API to handle form submissions. So on the original site, if you do something like this, see if I can do something nonsensical. Will it let me do that? I think this would like give me an error from MailChimp. So let's see what happens. Yeah. So what this will do is it takes an error message from, for example, like MailChimp, and then sends it back in a way that I can decode and display to tell you what the hell went wrong, instead of just getting a mystery error that's like, I don't know, try again. So that is something that we don't actually need to change because that's in the API, not in the Gatsby stuff. So we can leave that one alone. So hooray, nothing to change there. Let's see about putting the pages back in place. And the way that we're going to do that is by digging back into Gatsby Node. And I think this is probably the last thing we're going to do today because I'm just running out of time here. So this one is going to pull in, let's see, pagination we're not going to deal with. Creating nodes. So let's take a look at the actual, let's start with the query. Create pages. So when we create pages, let's uncomment the create pages block. Okay, and then we'll selectively comment things out to figure out what we are or not going to deal with today. So this redirect is fine. That's going to stay in place. That redirect is fine. So the way that this works is that in Gatsby, you can just say like, this page doesn't exist anymore. Send people who visit that page to this page. You can specify whether or not it's a permanent redirect. Like if it's a temporary thing, like you've closed registration for something, you would probably set that to false. But in this case, because I just got rid of that page, it's a permanent redirect. And then because I did not bother setting up server redirects, I need to handle the redirect in the browser. So then I've got, up here, we are doing some promise stuff. We should probably refactor this to be like async await code, which I think will look and feel much nicer. So let's take a crack at that. That should be fun. See if I can do it without looking at the docs. That's going to be the... Here's where we get to see how much ES6 I actually know. So what we want is we're going to do this. We've got our page templates. And so we can do that a couple ways. Let's make this a little more like human readable. And so what I want is I want the page template, and that's going to be path resolve, source templates and page. And then I can just take these two out. Let's just grab those straight away. Drop them in here, turn them into objects. So let's do post, and I screwed that up, previews. Okay, and so what that gives me now is I have a slightly more like legible way of getting at these pages that's going to make more sense. Then I'm not going to do posts and previews today. So what I need to do instead is I'm going to say, let's see, data equals await. Oh man, this is going to be so cool if this works. Await, and then I'm going to pull in my GraphQL query. And this query is going to be kind of a nightmare because this one follows the old way that I had things set up. So remember in my original setup, what I had done is I had like posts and pages and offers and stuff all kind of set up in different different things. Like, you know, they were each independent folders, and then in Gatsby config, I was including all of those different folders. I don't actually want to do that anymore. So what I want to do instead is I want to pull these pages out of like one single query. So let's jump into graphical. Let's put this in here, take a look at what we've done. So let's prettify to start. And then we've got lots of problems like the fields not being added the way that I want them to. I'm going to probably not address that today. I'm probably going to address that a little differently. In the meantime, let's take a look at just the pages for now. So I'm actually going to comment that out. And with this one, we want to do all file. And again, we're going to do all file by a, what do I want? Relative path? Relative directory. Ooh, this is exciting. And then that's going to equal pages. What does this do? This is cool. I want to, let's see. Do I want to keep filtering by front matter? No, I don't. The reason that I don't is because we're not doing Markdown, so I can't actually filter the way that I want to. So instead of all of this, let's do a relative path. Expected name found not a name. So what did I do wrong? Filter, oh, I'm missing a closing semicolon here, or a curly brace. So that's not giving me anything. That does. Okay, so, curiously, if you have a relative directory, do not include pages in it, or the closing slash, because that causes it to not work. So what is cool about this is it does give me all of the pages in that directory with a significantly improved query. Like, that's much less junky. And what I was doing is I was looking for the template of a page. So if we take child markdown remark, I think I can filter on this. So let's take a look. I'm doing file. Under the file, I want to look at child markdown remark. There is no filter on this, so that's okay. I can do it in line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the child markdown remark, and then I'm going to grab out all the stuff that I needed. And the stuff that I needed was only the slug, which means I don't actually need the markdown at all. I can just take the file name, right? Yeah. So with these, each of these is just going to be converted straight into a page. And unless I'm mistaken here, what should end up happening is when I create my pages with these should line up directly to everything that I want. So like if I drop this one in, that should take us directly to a disclaimer page. Yeah. So that's a good thing. That's what we're looking for. So I'm just going to do that. That seems easier than dealing with Markdown or front matter slugs or anything like that. So let's take this one out. Let's get into this guy here. Let's do that. Let's comment out the posts. We'll get to that on a later cast. That's not going to work. So what's this? This is Command-Shift-I, right? That didn't do even sort of what I wanted. Crap. I know this one. It's not going to work. It is selection. Add cursor to line ends. So Alt-Shift-I. So I was in the right neighborhood. And so then I'm just going to comment those out. Did that not work? What happens if I do this? Does it just explode? Let's see. So I've got that. This keeps jumping to the top. I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. And then in here, we want to look at the pages. We don't want to look at the posts. So I'm going to take the posts out altogether for now. Post by category, post by tag. We're not paginating those. So just hide those for now. And then I'm going to take out the posts down here as well. So what I should get, if I have done this correctly, is that we're only going to deal with the pages. And so we also refactored this out of being a promise. So what I should get is, oh, actually, you know what I can do that'll be easier than this? Let me just take this directly out, drop it in here, and then, rather than dealing with all of these, I can comment this whole thing out. Okay, so now I should have my data, and what I will want to do is take my data, we're not going to worry about that, and then I'm going to grab my pages out. So these, I'm going to grab them, I'm going to stick them up here, and if I've done this correctly, what we should get here is pages, edges, node, name. And so we've got pages, edges, that gives us pages. And I'm going to take the result out because we don't need it, because we captured that data into here. I have a feeling that's going to break. I don't know, let's try it and see what happens. Then we're going to loop through these. We're going to destructure, grab the node, call it page so that we know what it is, and we're going to get page.name instead of page.fields.slug. So let's see what happens, shall we? And then that also means that down here, we're no longer resolving a promise. And so that should mean that, in fact, let me just get rid of we can leave that redirect in there, that's fine. The pages, why don't you like that? Templates is assigned a value but never used. That's because I changed this, so it would be templates.page. Okay, that's good. Path is not defined. I will need that. Page template is not defined. Where do I use page template? Templates.page. Pages is already defined. Where does it get defined? Oh wait, what have I done? Oh, that's just the old one that I commented out. Okay. That's fine. And then I need path. And I'm not using the config here, which I need to refactor anyways. And so what should happen then is that eliminates my errors. So I can go back to the terminal. We can close this out, fire it up, and see what explodes. Oh, nothing. Okay. Cannot read property filter of undefined. Where did that go wrong? Edges of undefined, Gatsby node 131. That is our pages. Okay, so something got broken there. So let's just back to the, yeah, I'm not going to set up debugging right now. Let's just log what we get, see what comes out. And we get, oh, it comes back with like create pages. Oh, that seems weird. Or is that just tagged? Data dot. Let's try this. Result. And then we'll do result.data. How does that work? You are the result. Yeah, let's see what goes. Let's just watch it. That's promising. Yep, pages, edges, that's what we wanted. And we get some stuff, so let's go out here and let's just try a disclaimer. Nothing. What went wrong? Ah, yeah, because we haven't actually fixed our page template yet, but we're getting closer. So now what we can do, because it did build the pages, so let's go to the 404 and just look at the pages that were created. So that's a problem. It double created our about. That's a problem because it created home. What did I miss? Let's see here. I've got pages and about. Let's hide the terminal. Template is about. Oh, yeah. So this is something that I worked around before. And that's why I had that check for whether or not there was a template of page, which means we do, in fact, need that child markdown remark check. So child markdown remark, front matter, and template. And so now what I can do is I can check whether or not it has the page template. And what that will allow me to do is then figure out whether or not we should actually generate this page. It's probably a little hacky, but whatever. It helps me keep my content in a, like I want to be able to edit all of my pages this way. And so by just specifying a template of like where this should happen, that makes my, I could probably name that better, call it like generate true or something like that, but this is fine. Maybe it's not. Maybe I should call it something more logical. I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to, instead of saying like template, I'm going to say generate false. And the reason for this, let's see if I can, this prevents Gatsby from programmatically, Jesus, is that right? That seems wrong. Did I do that right? I did not. 1T. Okay, so that's what I want. I'm going to take that, and we only want these two not to be generated, because the rest of them are, yeah, the rest of these should all be generated that way. So what's nice about that is that also means I can simplify all of these pages by getting rid of this template field. And I like simplification. I like it when there are fewer things. The fact that I had to look at this and figure out why I had written it the way I'd written it, that was a good sign that it probably should have been refactored to begin with. It's not, if it's not immediately clear, you probably want to take a look at why and see if there's a way to make it more clear. So let's scale this. Good. And one more. And I think this is the last one. So let's do it. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm going to get in here. Let's go to, I got too many files open. Let's close these. Let's just get it all out of here. Cancel, what did I do? I wanna save that. That can stay open. These can close. Let's maybe use this for what it's for, huh? So close that. And I don't need the config either, so let's stick there. That console log is working as expected, but I want to change this. I'm gonna restart so that we get those updated fields. And I didn't save that thing. So what broke? Oh my God, this thing. Okay, so nothing broke. That's good. And I'm going to go back out to graphical, and I'm going to make sure that instead of this, I've got the generate. And so I'm only going to filter stuff out if it comes in as generate false. And what that means we can do then is we can do, let's just add a filter in here. So we can do a pages.filter, and we'll do node page again, and that's incorrect, it's in here. And with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do page, child markdown, remark, and we're going to, let's front matter, generate. And because that's going to return false, we want that to be, how do I want to do that? I want it to be, it does not return false. So what does, that comes back true, that comes back true. So that's a bad time. Crap. So what if I do equals false? Because that shouldn't work. I hope it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, cool. And so then I can just check whether or not that's true. What is wrong? You don't like, is it just the prettier thing? It was just the prettier thing. That is fine. So what we're trying to do is just make sure that we keep the pages that shouldn't be generated out. And what I'm going to do is probably just, well, we can just check it in the 404 page. So let's do that. Let's take this. We're going to restart, get our pages generated. Something went wrong. What went wrong? Cannot read property front matter of undefined. Node, child markdown remark. Oh, the site's down, of course. Child markdown remark dot front matter dot generate. That I forgot to fix the query. Okay, child markdown remark. And we want front matter. And we want generate. Okay, let's try that one more time with all the code that we require. Nope, or maybe, nope. Did I do the thing? Yeah, okay, so let's see what happens. Got the 404, let's reload that. Now this time, it only loaded, wait, did I do the thing where I got the logic backward? Sure did. Oh man. My favorite part of development is watching myself make these mistakes every day for 15 years. Okay, so this should improve. Now we've got about, hooray. We've got confirmed contact. We do not have a home page. That means that we got this fixed. So let's go ahead and get these pages rendering properly by fixing this template. And once we get that, we should have ourselves a good stopping point. So let's do it. We've got, in the layouts, what we're doing is we're grabbing the page, we're pulling out it's like a markdown page, right? So we're pulling out the front matter, we're checking whether or not there's an opt-in. If there is an opt-in, then we, do the stuff that we need to make that work, which is basically that's the popover, right? So let's rewrite this query and make it function. So we can start by uncommenting it, and then let's take it to graphical, maybe. Did I lose my graphical? No, it's here. There we go. So we can take this, get it in there. Don't need a page query anymore. We don't get fields any longer. So what we need to do instead is query by its name. So we're going to go file, and that's going to be, what do I want to do with this? I can just query it right by its name. This is so much easier. I don't know why I didn't do this the first time. And that's going to be the slug. And let's take a second to look at what this actually means once I fix this. So child markdown remark. And then we're going to take the whole thing, indent it, do that, and that's a correct query. So then to test this, I need to open these. Let's add a slug. And that slug, for now, we can make confirm. And when I run it, cannot query fields. Oh, that's right, because this broke. And we get our thing. So let's talk a minute about context and like where this comes from inside of Gatsby, because when you're looking at this, we've got this slug, but like where the hell does that slug come from? And the answer to that is here. So this context, this is how we pass things into any page in Gatsby, any query in Gatsby. So queries can only happen in pages and in templates. So something that we're loading programmatically, like one of these, is a good spot to use context, or in a page itself, like in, or actually, you know what? I think that's really it. That's because here we don't have a chance to set anything. Like how would we set that? So you can really only set it here. And the reason that we want to set that is so that we can do things like, say, for the given page. And in our case, we need to get the title and the front matter, or maybe an image or SEO data, whatever it is, that needs to come out of here. What did I use the content digest for? Odd. Okay, I'll take it. I don't understand why I do the things that I do sometimes. Anyway, so now we've got this this working query. So we're going to pull that one out, and let's drop this in. Okay, so we've got our working query. It's pulling the slug out of the context, which again, that context is set in the create page. We can set any context we want. So whatever we set here, that then becomes available to the template. And so again, we are calling templates.page, which is in templates.page, which is what we're editing. When that page gets rendered, we've got the access to the GraphQL variable slug in queries executed off that page. So what we're doing is we're grabbing out the file that matches the page that we need to load, getting its markdown contents. So we've got the HTML, the title, some information about the opt-in, and then this key that for some reason I decided to use internally. So let's get in here and figure out what we need to change. So any of these .front matters are going to be prefixed with child markdown remark. And I can just copy paste that around. So let's do that. Same with the .html and the opt-in info. And the source we can set to, what do we want to set that to? I guess I can just add the name, yeah? Let's do that. So I'm just gonna add the name because we've decided that the name is the same as the, I added that in the wrong place. This is why you test. Name. So let's add that back here, run that off, and we get our slug. So that's a simpler way of getting to it, so let's just do that. I'm gonna take that, drop it up here so that things make sense to me. That shouldn't have been unindented. So we've got our name, so we will swap out the .fields.slug for name. Okay. And then this gives us, the content digest is really just kind of a really unique hash, which is probably overkill for these types of keys, but I'm not gonna overthink it right now. Let's save this and see if it worked. Let's jump into like the confirmation page. Didn't work. What didn't work? Data page format as page renderer. Missed a couple. So let's do page, let's just do a quick check. Page.internal, that's fine. Page, or is it fine? That internal comes from Markdown remark, so I need to drop that in, make sure that we actually are doing that. So let's see, page.child markdown remark. Yep. And the name is not part of markdown remark. And that gives us what we need. And so then we just need to fix this, markdown remark, and that's going to be prop types dot shape. Take that whole thing, drop it in, and that really is required, so we should warn it if something goes wrong. And when we look, hot diggity damn, we got functioning links, or a functioning page. So let's reload, make sure that our errors went away. Nope. Prop data page.html is marked as required, which means that I need that to go up inside here. And this one is gone, but I can change it to name. And let's refactor that. All right. So that's about as far as I think we want to go today. So let me take this as a good stopping point. I'm going to commit these changes to a new branch. So let's see where we are. We got this content folder. Come on. That jump is going to kill me. So we've got this content. We've got a lot of pages that we moved around. Okay, so let's maybe start this. We're going to do git add content because we know we want that. And then we want to remove, oh shit, nope, git reset. Okay, I'm going to git check out a new branch, and we're going to call this one V1 to V2. Then I'm going to do git add content, and we'll do a git remove posts, git remove, what was the other one called? Pages and offers. Make that recursive. Okay, check our status here. We've got a bunch of posts, so let's make that a separate commit so that it doesn't screw up the commit history all weird. Git commit message. Let's see, feature move content to a single directory. Yeah, that seems like a... All right, so now I've got a bunch of extra stuff that we want to deal with here. So let's do, let's actually pull out I've got a thing called git lens that'll help me see what we actually changed without having to dig through all of the stuff that I want to talk about. The changes is the word that I'm looking for that I forgot. Where the hell is git lens? Let's do... Can you just show me? That's what I want. So this should give me... You're not going to give me what I want? Files changed. So this will show us what changed, and it should show us what changed. This is a super handy plugin. And so with this one, that is something that we're not going to deal with this time around. This is all correct, but I'm actually just going to whack this whole thing because we're not using it anymore. So let me take a look at Gatsby config. I can't just open that, can I? Of course not. Let's do this. And so because I consolidated all this down, we don't need the offers or the pages or any of that. So that should help us drop a bunch of lines out of there. We can see that we consolidated all of that down into content, which is excellent. And towards the end of this, we're going to fix service workers because I broke my site with a service worker, which was wonderful. So then I can take this and let's see, I can... is this not the terminal? There we go. So now I'm going to add Gatsby config. What else do we got? We upgraded the, let's see, add, I guess it was a git remove, source images. This should have been part of the first thing. So let's do this. Let's git reset. Let's do a git add source images. And then that gives me, did that actually delete them or did I just screw that up? No, I did it. It did what I wanted. Okay, so now, because that should have been part of my last one, I'm going to do git commit amend. And because I haven't pushed it, I can do this. So I'm just putting that into my previous commit. And the reason that I want that to happen is because I don't want to have things get deleted in one image or in one commit and created in another commit when they should actually be renamed. So then, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to view the file explorer and I want that to be, let's see, we've got all this content stuff. We'll just hide that. I'm going to add my plugins. And this one is, we refactored to make compatible with Gatsby V2. And now we've got what? Let's see, the components that we changed, these were all also refactors. So we did things like adding the link is now coming from Gatsby, and in this case, I think we're pulling in the, where is it? Like this one got pretty decently refactored. That one got pretty decently refactored. So let's add the stuff that we actually did first. So git add source components with popover, source components, popover. Those ones got refactored pretty thoroughly. We also refactored the pages. So pages, let's do, source pages, about, source pages, index, and source templates page. So these are the things that we actually fixed. What else is in here that we didn't deal with? Our Gatsby config and our Gatsby node. Gatsby config and Gatsby node. And let's add the yarn lock and the package. So these are actual like things that we did to get this updated. The rest of this stuff is like in varying stages of disrepair, so I don't want to commit it when it's not finished. So we're going to do git commit message refactor for Gatsby V2. And the last bits, which is everything else, all of that is kind of work in progress. So I'm just going to add it all, and then I'm going to commit it with a work in progress status. Let's push that up to my GitHub. So now anybody who wants to see what changed, you can go take a look at that. And we will probably call that here. So I'm going to start doing this on a pretty regular cadence, and we'll just I'll just announce it on Twitter before it happens, and maybe get into a regular schedule with it. But thank you so much for everybody who watched, and we'll see you next time.